This is a big call sheet, you know what I mean? It's a lot of actors, a lot of great performances up here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think we have enough chairs. But...
Keep it. I'll keep it. I'm gonna keep the water. No, that's okay. Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Okay. Welcome to the White Lotus panel number 2. I'm going to introduce yet another cast of incredible actors. First, playing Belinda, Natasha Rothwell. Playing Frank, Sam Rockwell. You know him as Rick. It's Walton Goggins. Who would Rick be without Chelsea? Give it up for Aimee Lou Wood. Next we have Saxon, Patrick Schwarzenegger. And finally playing Guy Cop, Tayme Thapthimthong. Hi guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Your castmates warmed up this crowd really well.
I can tell.
Yeah. But you're the big finish. So you have a lot.
You won't disappoint.
Okay, please don't. I'm going to start similarly to how I started the last one. And I want to ask each of you, since Mike couldn't be with us since he is in a coconut tree, what was one of the most surprising or one of the most helpful pieces of direction you got from Mike shooting this season of The White Lotus?
Wow.
Anybody. It's a free-for-all right now.
Helpful. I don't know. I think Mike stayed out of the way, really. I mean, I think the most helpful right out of the gate was we were allowed to do whatever we wanted to do. Certainly like that first take or that second take, and then he would, kind of come in and give you these pieces of, these little bitty jewels. But at least, that was my experience. We were all separate, right? But with Aimee and I, he would just kind of come in and say kind of one thing. Yeah, it was freedom.
Yeah, he did a lot of kind of, you already know. And that was lovely, because I think he's really good at sensing when, by the way, I've got a mint in my mouth and I'm really sorry, but he's good at sensing when you might be having a bit of a wobble or going into your head, and he's really good at coming over at those moments and saying, just go with it. Not exactly that, but that vibe.
Yeah. He and I have a relationship from season 1, and so we have a bit of a shorthand, and he also knows that, like, I love to improvise and play, and I'm also neurospicy and a perfectionist, and so I want to get every single one. And neurospicy's out there.
I haven't heard that.
I love it.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
ADHD. So he can tell if I'm like trying to get it so on the nose as to try to get it for him, and so he'll come over. He's like, play. So I think that to me is just the best sort of nudge from him.
Can I?
Oh yeah, have fun.
Just to throw this out for all of us, like it was really kind of leading up to the first day, right? I mean, so much of it, there was so much anticipation of, the first words that were going to come out of your mouth the first time you were playing pretend, and that was like the hardest day. It felt like, I mean, it got harder over time, and it was hot and all the rest of it. But once you said Mike White's words, and you realized that you weren't going to die, I mean, some of us. But then all of a sudden it just kind of became like butter. I mean, it got easier over time.
I agree with that. I would say, just on the topic of the first day, I was so nervous the first day, because just when we're talking about what Mike White does with you, it's kind of what Walton said, it's what he also does not do with you. This was the first time I had been on a project of this magnitude too, that had no table read. I didn't have a chemistry read with the opposite actors and actresses. We had no rehearsals. It was just like day one, take one, go.
Wow.
And I think the learning experience for me there with working with Mike was that Mike is an actor also.
Yeah.
He's the actor, he's the writer, he's the director. And for me, getting to see some of the best in the business that have ever done it, just do what they've learned and what their process is and stuff. And I think that's kind of what Mike allows us to do, is just come and act. And then he kind of comes and shapes it, and he walks over and he scratches his head, and then he comes up with his ideas. And then you watch Mike replay the whole scene in his head.
Yep.
And he plays every single character, and it's like the most fascinating thing to watch. And then he goes, oh yeah. And then he'll say, do this. It's perfect. And then he'll walk away like that, and then he'll come back quickly, and then he'll say something. But for me, it was just such a cool experience of allowing the actors to be the actors, I guess, was a thing for me.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. His main point for me on my first day of filming, and the first day I filmed, was with a scene with Lisa, but it was started in episode 7. And I've never done anything like this before, and just meeting Lisa like maybe a week before, I was still kind of trying to get used to her and not be so like and I would be, you just hear Mike shout, I was like, Tayme, smile less. Okay, got it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So it was that was a really good. It made me very conscious of that. So I just like keep, he's like, it's episode 7. You have so many episodes to smile, but not in this one. So yeah.
Isn't that tricky as an actor when you start with something so late in the season? I find that very difficult. So that must have been, especially if you're all working separately, because you weren't all together at all times. It was kind of like.
Yeah, we were kind of, the way Mike works, he always each of us are in our own little movies that he braids together. And so some of them overlap, everything overlaps at dinner, and then, yeah, it was kind of, we were all on our own track.
So is there, in terms of the dovetailing of those stories, are there times when you were all on set together? Maybe not all, I guess, but.
Yeah.
It was usually the dinner,
Dinner, an arrival?
the dinner,
Restaurant?
the arrivals and
Yeah,
dinner,
arrival.
yeah.
Not Sam, though.
I know. On your island in Bangkok.
I just met him tonight, real talk.
Really? Oh, this is an exclusive.
Now we best friends.
This is good. That's what we want. We want this to be alive. We want this panel to be live. We need to know these details. Okay, so Natasha, I've known you for a while.
We've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah, we're not going to say how many, but it's
no.
a few years.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, as a writer, as an actor, as you mentioned, an improviser, did you use that multi-hyph life when you were developing the character? And I know you developed it obviously in season 1, but I'm curious about how you approached playing the character and also what changed for you coming back and playing it again.
Yeah, no, I love Mike so much. We have a really great writing relationship where season 1, when I first got the part, I was concerned. I was very protective of the portrayal of a woman of color in a mostly homogenous environment and wanted to make sure that it was grounded in authenticity. And so I had my team reach out, and he's Mike White. For me, I've been riding with him since Freaks and Geeks, so I love him. And for me, I was like, I don't know if he'll be amenable to just like a conversation writer to writer, because having worked on Insecure, where I also wrote and acted, I never jockey for, thanks guys. I never jockey as the writer for the character that I'm playing. So I just put that up, and he was like, yeah, let's meet. And we went page by page season 1 and grounded it, and not changing much, but just like putting it in, Av, right? We have it in the African American vernacular, and we did the same thing season 3, and it was like I was like, Mike, you want to meet? He was like, yup. And so we met over Zoom. He was already in Thailand, and we were like, go page by page. And so that ability to play the hyphen, the multi-hyph life of being like, oh, these are 2 writers just like sort of talking shop. And one of the best things I think for me to come out of it, or one of my things I'm most excited about, the moment where Belinda turns when she's negotiating. Originally, that was written with just my very symmetrical son, Zion. a little Oedipus Rex in there for a minute.
Well,
It's very beautiful.
it's thematic.
It's
in the
thematic.
show, you
That's
know.
right. It happens.
It's all over.
It's all
I don't
over.
have a brother, but you know. Yeah.
But it was originally written with just Belinda leaves the room and he takes over the negotiation. And I said to Mike, this is how the pitch goes. It's not me being like, I want her to go down the hall and say these words. I'm like, Mike, I really want Belinda to have this moment of agency where she is a part of her future. She sort of gave her future to Tanya to sort of fulfill and realize. And so what if she takes the reins? Like, what would that look like? And he's like, let me needle on it. And then the next time we met up, he's like, he gave me the scene. I was like, you nailed it! I was like so excited. But that's what I love about the process and working with Mike. And yeah, it was just a joy to put Belinda back on again.
Yeah, I mean, it feels so collaborative. It looks that way, and it's so interesting to know that about that scene because I love that turn. That's one of the things that I love so much about the White Lotus is that there are these turns that the actors get to play that you're constantly surprised, and even if it's a small moment, it's not necessarily who your father is. You know, there are these small moments that there are these turns in the episodes that are really satisfying. In that vein, in terms of collaboration, Sam. Give it up. Your character. Frank is such an amazing character, and that monologue that you give, I mean, it's a tour de force. It is a real tour de force. Curious how you approached it. If you talked to Mike about it, where that came from. Where did that come from?
I don't know. We have
Okay.
to ask Mike. Was he on drugs when he wrote that? Or was it... yeah, it's really clever what Mike does with that monologue. I mean, he encapsulates kind of the philosophy of the whole season. You know, the search for spirituality juxtaposed with selfishness, and you know, it's really an amazing monologue. So I just said the words. You know, I got off book with my better half, and we were in safari in South Africa, and she got me off book, Leslie Bibb, the great Leslie Bibb. And so yeah, and I was with this guy, so I got you these, Walt.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you.
We have a shorthand.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah,
Was it your
yeah.
first time working together?
No, it was the second time we'd done Cowboys and Aliens together. We were
Amazing.
bumping on
amazing
horses
time.
together, yeah, drinking margaritas in Santa Fe.
Hanging out with Harrison Ford.
Hanging out with
Riding
Harrison
the Harrison
Ford.
helicopter.
That's right. And we having Tex-Mex, and then we, you know, cut to years later, we're friends. It's kind of an extraordinary thing to act with a close friend. I think it's the first time I've ever done that, really. Somebody we really have history with, and the fact that we were playing characters that had history with each other. We had the shorthand, and so we could make each other laugh, and that was really interesting, really cool. I thought, you know.
I thought so too.
I think everyone did. That was such a great dynamic, and it does feel very lived. There is history there. It feels very.
The Walton stare in that scene. I've just watched that back for me.
Yeah. And that's one of that.
You know, I mean, but you don't know, right? I mean, like, because Sam and I have been, very dear friends for a very long time. And I guess when I say it could go a number of different ways, I mean, a lot of people in this room work with people that you've known for a while. And until you get there, you don't want to, I didn't want to let Sam down. You know, this is my hero. I mean, like, I got Bob Duvall, I got like Tommy Lee Jones, I got Chris Cooper, and I got Sam Rockwell, you know? And so, for real.
Dream blunt rotation, as they say, huh? Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate it. I'll just put it right in here. Put this right in here. Okay, perfect, man. Thanks so much.
It's not going back in. You can't get
$3? $3? Think I'm that cheap? Okay, I'll keep talking. No, but it was, and it was like the very first thing that we did together was this thing that ultimately didn't make it in, and Mike, it was the right decision not to kind of put it in, and it was this scene where Frank takes Rick to a monastery, and it was just this moment of calm. I think we both kind of needed it to begin this journey, and then every single day that we got to work together, you know, the very first words that kind of came out of Sam's mouth, it was just, for both of us, I think it was just a joy, just very easy, very calm. And for me, my journey as Rick Hatchett, it was the first time, because I was with Aimee, you know, really only Aimee. And I didn't have any friends, I didn't gossip with anyone, you know, I didn't talk to anyone. I just was in fucking pain, you know? But Rick has a friend. And I knew that he had a friend because I read all of these scripts, and I knew that what everybody else had an opportunity to experience, this levity and this like ability to connect with people, I knew that was coming for me, you know? And I couldn't wait to kind of have that outlet. And the fact that I got to go on that journey with Sam, it was really, really special for me.
Yeah, well, for all of us too. It's really special. Aimee, in a show that is known for its flawed characters, yours is one that I think we root for from the beginning. That she, right? Give it up. It's just really. And I have to say, I know that of course it's written that way, but it's also the dynamic you bring to the role. And I'm curious what you channeled in creating that character and what your discussions were with Mike, because it is a very unique jewel of a role in the universe of the White Lotus.
Yeah, and of course he has to kill her.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tragedy.
Yeah, I think just as soon as I read the audition sides, I just loved her. I just loved her so much, and so it kind of all felt very. I didn't really think that much, which I didn't think.
That's good.
But also Mike is so. This is really weird, and I think it's quite surprising. But I think people can think of Mike as maybe quite cynical because he's so acerbic and so kind of scathing about humans. But he's actually incredibly optimistic and effervescent and mischievous, and there's a lot of him in Chelsea. A lot. I mean, he's in all of them, but there is this kind of watching Mike just kind of running around the set with boundless energy and enthusiasm. It kind of, I was like, oh, I remember having this feeling about Chelsea and then seeing Mike and thinking, God, there's a lot of him in here.
Wow.
That kind of openness and curiosity and kind of childlike, energy is very Mike. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick, the fan reaction, I think, shifted for your character. A few times. There were turns.
Now you're telling me,
Yeah. I'm curious, as an actor, what you considered in terms of the evolution of the character, because you do go through an evolution in this season, and what that was like for you, because you play a lot of different. You have a lot of different gears, and so I'm just curious about your approach.
Well, it was a pretty odd experience of kind of what Walton said. I mean, on day one, I shot stuff from episode 1, 3, and 8.
Oof.
And I think it was our first or our second day of work that we shot the last scene of me looking over my shoulder, or that way, watching Aimee go run into Walton's arms. And I remember when I read the script for the first time, when I read all of them, and I had my conversation with Mike, and Mike was like, I really want this guy to be this, he's just unfiltered and he's totally absurd, but he's so fucking funny because he's so serious about everything, but there's also something super weird and creepy about him, but he's also like, you kind of love him and you kind of want to root for him, but then you hate him, and I was like, oh my God, there's all these different things, like, what is he not? But it was also one of the best learning experience for me was that episode 8, because I read the scripts and I thought to myself, wow, I really hope that I don't play this character one note. That was what I was the most afraid of doing, is just playing him this one way. And I was a little bit worried about not having this kind of, this change, this arc. And I shouldn't have been worried about that, and I should have totally trusted Mike, but that's what my first instinct was I was scared to play Saxon. And I remember on that second day when I went and did this scene with Amy, and I came down and I was like, okay, this is the end of the story. This is a good moment for me to have this change. I want the audience to believe Saxon has changed. And so I came down with my little book that I got from her, and I came and I sat down next to her, and I said, yeah, I read the books, and yeah, the sex stuff was pretty interesting, and it was, I went to Duke, I was smart, and Mike walks over, and he's just like, wait, what the fuck what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? He's like, well, why are you acting like that? And I was like, well, I'm showing Saxon how to change. He's sweet and he's nice with these girls now. And he's like, dude, it's been 6 fucking days. People don't change after 6 days. And I was like, well, don't you want to show a little bit of like an arc or whatever? And he was like, yeah, but you have the book, that's part of it. And he's like, all I want to do is I want the audience to think, has he changed? I want you to just look at her as she runs off into Walton's arms. And I just want for you to internalize that. And I'm going to stick a camera here and I'm just going to watch that. And that's it. Then I want the audience to look and think about, will Saxon change afterwards? And I'm not going to say anything else. And it was a really beautiful moment for me as an actor, because it was kind of instead of me trying to do what I thought the audience wanted or what I thought the character had to have, it was just really trusting Mike and his vision for it. And in the end of the day, you guys thought he changed, and there was a moment that came across, but it came across through a internalized moment between the two of them and stuff. So all that to say is I didn't plan for I did plan for a change, which wasn't what it was supposed to happen, and through Mike and his vision, and that's why it's an amazing experience from me to work with a writer, director, creator, but also that had that acting background, because he was so opinionated on that scene. And he had such a clear vision of what he wanted. And I kind of was just the vehicle to try to make that happen. But it's really just a testament to him. Because I was worried.
You nailed it.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I was worried about that.
Yeah. Well, it is so well played. And I think that's one of the things that's great about Mike's work and about the White Lotus, that it's not literal. There is abstraction in it. There is ambiguity in it. And to that end, Tayme, I'm curious what your feeling is, because yours is another character that is very likable and someone that we root for. And I'm curious about your feelings about what happens to your character in the end. Seeing him sort of be part of this driver, private security guard. What did you take from that? What was your assessment?
Well, I really enjoyed playing Guy Top, because he does start off completely different to how he ends. And I kind of like that it was this kind of gradual change. I felt like from episode 1 to 3, he was one way, and then 4 to 6, another way, and then 7, 8, kind of very different. And then right at the end, kind of that flip. I really enjoyed that. I think it's just, getting to really explore. I mean, the inspiration for my character was really just thinking back to, traveling around Thailand to different hotels, and just being observant of how people in the hotel are in Thailand. Like the security guard, even though he has the label of a security guard, none of the security guards in Thailand that I've seen are like, people that you would expect to get into like a physical confrontation. It's not like nightclub bouncers, it's like a different kind of security. I think, the way I saw it is that they are the friendly face that greets you first when you come to the hotel, whether you're arriving in a taxi or, you know, walking through. They're always like, "Sawasdee ka," you know. It's just very, you know, it's a friendly face. So I really wanted to portray that, while also, you know, anyone who applies for that job, even though you're not expecting a physical confrontation, you still feel like, well, I just want to protect people, but I don't, you know, I think the events of what happened in that week in the White Lotus is something that none of the security guards in Thailand would actually expect to happen. But saying that, you know, at the end, I really love how, you know, just that end scene before he pulls the trigger. I really enjoyed everything coming together, you know, sort of how he's doubted himself all season and been very hesitant about everything, you know, lost the gun, been clumsy and all that. And it's just, for him, you know, thinking about, oh, he just lost the girl of his dreams because of being so hesitant. And he's got his boss shouting at him, like, just do it, you know, like, so I felt like it was, I really enjoyed that, sort of it all coming together and at the end just boom. And then you know, he gets the promotion, he gets the girl, and I love that last scene because all the clothing in the last scene, that was all my own clothing that I used to wear for security.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
That's interesting. That's
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, so that was all mine. I just asked if I could wear my own clothes at the end. They're like,
Wow.
go for
Okay,
it.
I hope you got a wardrobe fee for that. You can. Okay. Walton, your character has internal moments, but also some very high stakes moments, releasing the snakes, the face off with Jim, you know, the final shootout. Can you talk about your approach to those like adrenaline filled scenes and what those were like to shoot?
You know, I'm going to talk about the whole thing. I'm just kidding. Look, I mean, I read these scripts. You know, I was lucky. I got this offer to come and play. Like everybody else that's been through this experience, I've been following Mike White for a very long time. And when this invitation this overture was made, it was really predicated on one condition, and that was you have to read all of these scripts, and we need to know, like tomorrow, you know, what your answer is. And flying from Los Angeles back to New York, I got 5 of them on the plane, and I'm like a basket case on the plane. Like,
Wow, I hope you're a fast reader.
solid gold, right? Like this is like the White Lotus kind of like in my hands right here on the computer. And the link wasn't working, so they just sent me the scripts that were unprotected. And then, yeah, right? Yeah, that was like, please don't want to look at my computer, please. You have no idea what's on this computer right now. And then reading kind of all of them, it's like I got to the end and my heart just broke. I was crying uncontrollably and alone in my apartment. And I had David Bernard's number, our producer, and because I was supposed to call him right after, and I called him and I said, man, I can't tell you, you know, what this means. Thank you for the invitation, but it's going to be a rough ride, man. You know, because you're Mike White, and we're all going to go there. I know all of these actors are going to go there, but this dude's in a lot of pain, and so that was kind of just right out of the gate. And the whole experience, everything kind of happened for a reason. I mean, the caustic nature of this very complicated, but it's really not that complicated relationship. It's quite simple, actually, you know. And it was just at this moment in this guy's life, and reading this article, this trauma resurfaces in a way that, like, I think for maybe a lot of people in this room, certainly a lot of people in this world, we all live with trauma. And I felt the way Mike had written that story, because I have my own trauma, that you can help people by making it okay to talk about trauma, right? And either you can move past it or your life will forever be defined by it. And it was all a journey, and the caustic nature of our relationship, and then getting close to that, and then coming together at night, and then finding this peace and this like subtle. There were takes that Aimee and I did that were so funny. They were so caustic and big, and Mike kind of shaped all of it. And it could have been it would have been, you know, 3 or 4, we lived like 8 or 10 lives, like over the course of it. And, but leading through the snakes and kind of what that means for Chelsea in that moment. And then finally meeting Frank, and then confronting the guy that caused him trauma, like we all do. We all want to. We all want that opportunity. And then he changed. As you talk about, well, you know, what this man did and what this man did and what this, she didn't have to change because she was perfect. What he did and what she did,
Yeah.
you know, everybody kind of had that. And for him, that change happened without a line of dialogue. You know, he just didn't react. He just needed to say what he needed to say to this man that forever defined his life, you know? And then he found peace. And you think, you know, once you find peace, you're gonna lose it, right? But you can find it again pretty quickly. But if peace or change is skin deep, well, then you're not gonna hold on to it very long, right? And that's kind of what happened to him, and he got lost, you know, and something that he couldn't get out of. And I think that was the parable for me. Everybody, the ladies were so fucking good. Everybody's so good. For me, Rick Hatchett's parable is, you know, in the depths of our despair, there's always beauty around us. Always. And I think about that in my own life. I think that's what's changed me most. I mean, all of these people in Thailand and getting to work with Mike White, but that reminder that, like, fuck, I can't deal with what's going on in my life right now. Yeah, you can, man. Just focus on what's beautiful in your life, you know? And it was one of the greatest rides of my life. And yeah, we had a crazy, it was crazy. Everybody, it was just a crazy time.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Well, we're grateful you read that script and said yes. And we're grateful to all of you for coming. Thank you so much. That concludes our panel for the White Lotus. Give it up to these amazing actors and their amazing performances. Thank you.